Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so I just finished streaming my initial completion run of 7.3, and well, I'm gonna quickly go over the paths that I did manage to get to the Kang boss absolutely itemless with no boosts, and I did use one team revive, which was a bit excessive, but I did use one team revive on the Kang boss itself. So I don't know yet whether these are the easiest paths, but these are the ones that I did, and I felt relatively comfortable doing them. So let me kind of break it down. So this first one, Special Delivery, Power Shield, Hurt Locker, Matador Node, Special One Bias. It's a fairly easy lane. You can kind of use whoever you want. I kind of opted to go in with the Mutant team of APOC and Cable and Colossus and Omega Red and stuff, and yeah, that was pretty much the MEPs. Largely Colossus, I think, did most of the work than APOC and Cable. The one mistake that I did make is I didn't bring in a non-metal champion for this Magneto, so the Magneto fight was a bit dodgy. And then when it comes to the bosses, where are the bosses? Where are the dingin bosses? Here we go. I just dealt with the Red Goblin, and I nearly killed him with Archangel, but I made a mistake, and I got tagged there. But the easiest way how to deal with him is just bring in Ronan, and you can stun cheese him because of the unlimited power node. He's going to have a ton of buffs, and that is pretty much it. So I think it's a relatively easy boss where you can use a whole bunch of different champions. Just bait out the level 1s and you're going to be pretty much fine. And again, this is not like a full-on completion guide. This is just quickly going over the paths that I took and who I used there. Pretty much that. I should probably just done previews. This second quest is actually amazingly fun. For this line, I'm going to make a solo video showcasing exactly how well Thor works, but OG Thor, Gamora, and a few other cosmic champions will make this lane incredibly fun and incredibly quick, especially maybe with some Odin shenanigans. And yeah, you can solo this entire lane with OG Thor. And for the boss, I decided to take this Immortal Hulk, and Mallman soloed him for me. He has high energy diet, so you don't want to use anybody that does energy damage. And do not go gentle is just something that you're gonna have to play around. So use heavy attacks or intercept, and then ebb and flow heavy is we win heavy attacks. A very simple, very straightforward boss. Nothing to fear in this second quest. Let's quickly jump to the quest number 3. And in quest number 3, I took this one lane that has a simulation, triple threat, power shield, use it or lose it. So basically, whenever you fill bar of power, you have 8-second timer to either get to the second bar of power, or you're gonna lose a whole bunch of your power. And it has power shield, triple threat, inflicts a whole bunch of different debuffs on you, but they have significantly reduced potency the higher your combo meter goes, so you can actually willpower heal from them, and then mutants get additional benefit. I messed around with Kitty Pryde and Ghost here the most, and Colossus at times as well. It worked a charm. I'm sure you can use a whole bunch of different champions here. There's nothing really all that complicated. Wasp was slightly annoying. Korg can be annoying, but, Ghost can deal with Korg quite well, and then as well, I had Kitty Pryde with me. That was quite easy. And for the thing, I happen to have Omega Red with me. I used Omega Red, but I'm sure you can use any champion that can inflict a decent amount of damage over time effects. And I think actually Cable should be working quite well on this lane in general. So if you bring in mutant heavy-ish team to deal with that Korg, and then you can easily also Cable the thing, I think. And then where is the boss? Where are the bosses? There are Spider-Men, different bosses, and I was planning on using White Magneto pre-fight and just using Colossus and then just heavying him to death because Heavy Assault is here. However, I slipped up immediately, and I think before I even managed to land a hit, he KO'd me because he crits really hard. And then I just brought in White Magneto because he's a metal character, and nuked him down with White Magneto. He has Aggression, Fury, and Mixmaster, but it's fairly straightforward. The thing why I used White Magneto pre-fight was whenever the defender is inflicted with a non-damaging debuff, they gain an unblockable passive for 8 seconds. So whenever you parry them, they go unblockable for 8 seconds, unless you use White Magneto pre-fight, which you can easily sub in before the boss, and then you can literally use any champion that doesn't inflict damage or non-damaging debuffs and just heavy them, because you have heavy assault, and it's going to be quite an easy time. So far, so good, right? And then we're going to have 7.34, 7.35, and then the Kang. So let's just quickly jump to next quest. Let's not waste any time. I know, you guys, time's money. This was arguably the more annoying lane, and let me explain why. So you have the Thunderstruck, where you basically deal no damage or 10% of your damage unless they have shock debuff on them. They have right back at it. Every time you knock them down, they go debuff immune for 6 seconds, which is super annoying. Live Wire gives both champions, any champion basically, ability to inflict shock, but there's also the double determination and shock vulnerability. I used mainly Hercules here, but the base idea about this entire run is that you want to use champions that don't knock the opponents down, and champions like that typically will do fine. You don't need to have access to a shock debuff, but if you want to kind of increase the amount of shocks that you place on an opponent, then Black Widow Deadly Origins definitely is kind of like a worthwhile candidate here. But I think the more important is to bring in champions that do not necessarily have to knock the opponents down, and it's important not to bring in champions that inflict bleed, poison, or armor breaks, because then the double determination is going to go absolutely haywire. So hard-hitting champions from their base attacks, like Corvus, for instance, could potentially do quite well here as well. Ghost should be able to do quite well here. Just don't knock them down too much, and don't debuff them more than needed. And those shocks are going to come from the node. Annoying fight here was definitely Guillotine 2099. I did not enjoy that fight too much, but you know, was what it is. And then the rest of it kind of hurt cheesed. And this fight, I chose to go against Doctor Strange. Now, there are quite annoying things. First of all, when Ironclad is, when the defender is struck, they deal 20% of the damage they took back to the attacker for armor up buff, for each armor up buff the defender has. So you want to be able to get rid of the armor ups, because every time Doctor Strange uses a special attack, he will gain an armor up, and one of his stances has an armor up buff in it as well. Then on top of that, we have heavy-handed, special chaos inversion, and prey on the weak. So you can't use buff heavy champions, and special chaos inversion will make it tricky to evade Doctor Strange's special attacks. Truth to be told, I think you're pretty much fine here using majority of the Mystic champions, like Doctor Doom with staggers and things like that. If you want to be cheesy, you can try Namor, but in general, champions that armor break and can nullify, it will work fine. So most of the top Mystic champions will work fantastic here. Especially probably like Sorcerer Supreme. You can nullify the armor buffs, and for special chaos inversion, you can just block all the special attacks, for instance. So Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Doom, so on and so forth, is going to do just well enough. Yeah, I tried out Mr. Fantastic. I did decent amount of damage, but then I just nuked him down with Hercules in the end. That was the only quest I brought my Hercules in for, though, because I didn't want to rely too much on Hercules cheese. And then this quest was actually super quick and super fun, and Ultron was by far the MVP of this one. Whenever the tech attacker activated, no, actually this one, no. This one wasn't though. No, Ultron did put plenty of work in here as well. But and Warlock and Ultron's mainly who are used. Basically, you have a chance to gain Fury buffs, and you have a chance to put armor breaks on opponent with these top nodes, and then there's aggression regeneration, and then there's picture of health where you can't modify the regen rate. But pretty much any champions can do this lane, really. There's Mr. Sinister, but that's about it. It's just aggression regeneration, so any champion that's aggressive, you're fine. And, you know, if you have heal block, better. but you can use whoever you want. I used Warlock and Ultron mainly for these lanes. Where does this teleport to? It goes up to these lanes. Then we have Rhino, Black Widow, and Apocalypse. And then I took Cable Boss. And I took the Cable Boss with... Who did I use for Cable? I think I just used Cosmic Ghost Rider and kind of nuked him down. And this boss is fairly straightforward as well. The Surge Protector, basically where you kind of rush to your special attacks before Cable has a chance to use his special attack. But the main thing, I think, is going to be the Vigorous Assault. And since Cable gains buffs, so you, again, can bring in a Mystic Champion like Dr. Doom or something like that. Black Widow, Deadly Origins or something, and you should be pretty much fine. You just need to make sure that you nullify his buffs, you gain more powers than he does, so you can activate your special attacks before he activates his special attacks. And that's it. There's nothing much more to worry about against this Cable. And then the final boss. I will be uploading a Kang boss fight guide quite soon on my channel. I obviously do need to get more accustomed to the fight itself. But I took this lane that is the Gloves Are Off, Scrap Wars, Crumbling Armor, Enhanced Parry, and Bubble Shield. And Ultron just demolished, I think, pretty much entire lane. I think I used Ultron for every single one of these fights here. You can use pretty much any champions, to be honest, again here. But Ultron definitely seemed pretty much the best. Yeah, you can use, I don't know, Solar Centurion, Guardian, Hulkbuster, a whole bunch of different champions, whichever one you please. But Ultron was putting in work here, like a serious amount of work. And then when it comes to the boss, to go over it quickly, basically you just need to see what kind of special attack you need to use or how much power you need to have and get there. Every time you dex his level 1 successfully, you can gain a chunk of power. If you take it on a block, then you lose a chunk of power, so it lets you manipulate your power bar. You can stop the timer with a heavy attack, but in general, it was fair fight. He did, knock me out a bunch of times as I was learning the fight itself, but it wasn't too bad. I think it's gonna be fairly straightforward once people get used to it. So that was my completion run. Overall, the first thing that I want to say for sure is that I feel this time Kabam kind of overdid it with super long nodes. It was very confusing to figure out which parts to do, especially initially, and that's why I'm not saying that I picked the easiest ones. I picked the path that I'm more familiar with the nodes. Now there is this entire system with the paradox charges, and there are several sets of paradox nodes and a whole bunch of different new nodes. And there might be some easier lanes than the one I took, but it does require a colossal amount of reading and understanding. And I'm all for making things a bit more complex and intriguing, but just the sheer amount of text that you have to read as you get accustomed to these things, this time it seemed worse than ever. This time it definitely seemed worse than ever, because these nodes, they're not simple nodes. Each and every single one of them have quite a lot of text. There are several conditions and sub-conditions, what's going to work, what's not going to work. And even though I definitely did enjoy my first run, I think the paths that I took were fun, somewhat challenging, engaging, and all that other good stuff. I, at the same time, also felt that I'm a bit lost into the other stuff that's going on the side. And obviously, as I explore it and get more accustomed to it, it's not going to seem as big of a deal. But it definitely seemed quite daunting initially, which is the reason why I'm making this video now, why I wanted to show which parts I did and why I did them. Because largely it was the nodes that were easier to understand, and what you understand, it's easier to counter and do well. And I did make it all the way to Kang with no boosts, with no items, with no revives, no nothing, except energy refills, obviously. And yeah, that's about it for my completion run. Again, unfortunately, the most underwhelming bit about this entire thing seemed the rewards. I know that I still have yet to get my exploration rewards, but I think those could have been better. Overall, I do like the content so far. Let me know if you have tried already. As I said, I will be trying to explore it over the next day or two, pending how my health fares up. And then I will be starting to create guides for completion and exploration and for Kang boss fight and so on and so forth. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and or found it useful. And if you did, drop a like and, let me know. That being said, see ya. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about